3D Cameo Acrylic Nail Art Tutorial by Hot Pink Zebra Polish. Hi everyone! So in today's video I'm going to be doing a 3D cameo, and it's kind of an interesting thought because a cameo is carved, and so you're taking away ivory to reveal the design, but in this case you're building it up, which for some reason created a little bit of a mental block for me for a second until I got over it, and I don't know exactly what happened. But it's kind of an interesting thought just to do it backwards from the way they would be traditionally made. And so I had a lot of fun, and it's good to have something that you have to get through sometimes, a little creative roadblock. It makes you learn something. So I enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe try it out as well, and don't forget to click subscribe to see my future videos as well. So I'm going to begin with light blue acrylic, and I'm going to sculpt the inside of my frame. So this is where my figure is going to be sculpted on top of. So with that light blue, as I mentioned, I'm going to be creating an oval straight in the center of the nail, and so I'm going to try to leave an even little border around this light blue. It depends on how big your nail is. Mine's probably about 1/4 of an inch. Big enough that you can paint a design within it. So once you have that on, and if you can, or if you want to, not if you can, but if you want to, if your oval isn't exactly how you want it, you could take and you could file the outside of it just to perfect it if you wanted. I think mine is good enough, especially since I'm going to be painting it, and it'll get fixed up and touched up then. And so if you want to file it, now would be the time, and then after you're done with that, you can go through with a darker color. I chose purple, and I'm going to be filling in my border. And it doesn't matter if some of this purple goes on top of the light blue, you can always file that off later and reveal that nice blue oval. I almost said circle. It's not a circle. That nice light blue oval, and have a nice crisp line. So then, as I said, I'm going to be filing it once that purple has set up. And as you file, you're going to notice that your oval is going to start really taking shape and looking exactly how you wanted it in the beginning. So after you have that filed and revealed that nice line, go through and encapsulate this nail with some clear acrylic. And this is also where you're going to want to build your nail structure, so make sure that you have that nice apex form so that this nail can be nice and strong. Once that has set, I'm going to go through with a 180 grit file, and I'm going to file it just to smooth it out in case there's any lumps, bumps, or imperfections. And once you have that smooth, and as long as you're happy with it, it's good, then you can take a 240 grit padded buffer and just buff it away, so get rid of any scratches that other file may have left behind. And then with black gel paint, I'm going to be painting a simple little design as my frame around my cameo. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to outline the line between the blue and the purple, which I knew I was going to do this, which is why I didn't. If my blue oval wasn't perfectly smooth and, like I said, flawless, I wasn't too worried about it because I knew I was going to be adding this border, and any small imperfections are going to be hidden away at this stage anyway. So I didn't have to take the time to file it because you can't even tell anymore. And then with that black gel, after I have the outline on, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be painting a little simple rose. There's just a line rose at the very top of it, and then a little swirl to either side of that, and then add a couple little pulls going in towards the same direction as the swirl. And so as I'm doing this, I'm creating it, and I'm going back and forth from side to side so that my design is even from left to right. But then I'm also going to go through and I'm going to repeat my design pretty much exactly from the bottom going up, so it's even from left to right and top to bottom. So first starting with a rose, then adding a swirl, and then just a couple little pulls in, and a dot. And on this side I didn't have room for the dot, but that's okay. And then cure that halfway. So for me it's 60 seconds in a UV light, but you're just going to play with your gel and see how it goes. But then I'm going to be rubbing on some chrome powder just to give that frame that nice shiny silver appearance. And then wipe away most of it, throw that back in your lamp for the rest of the time, and then wipe off the little excess dust with a clean little piece of lint-free towel, apply some gel sealer, and cure that once again. So now once your nail has fully cured, I'm going to begin and I'm going to be sculpting my figure with white acrylic. And as I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep it relatively thin so that maybe some of that blue can show through on the low spots, which is also going to help it with that appearance, it's a new word, with the appearance of being a cameo. So it has that almost slight translucency, and depending on how opaque your white acrylic is, you may want to mix in just a pinch of clear just to give it a little bit more of that, like I said, translucency, so that a little bit of blue shows through and makes it have that cameo appearance. But for the most part, acrylic isn't going to be so pigmented that even with a thin layer it's going to be blocking out the color underneath it, so I wasn't too worried about it. And when it comes to what figure and what shape your figure is in and her pose, you can do anything you want, really. There are so many options. If you do want it to look like a traditional cameo, I would probably go through and I would look at a photo that you can get off the internet just to see what your options are, and maybe base your design off of one of those. So that if you just look up cameo, there are so many different ones available, so many different images. And you wouldn't have to do a full figure as I did. You could do just a face and you could put more detail into it if you wanted. Otherwise, there are like a skeleton cameo would be really cool, or a mermaid, or like I said, the sky's the limit practically. There are so many different options. I decided to do a full figure, and so when you're doing this way, there's a lot of large detail because you have legs and arms and all that, but the smaller details aren't there, like her eyes and all of those things, which depending on what you find easiest to work with, it might actually be easier, even though you're doing all the small stuff that is actually the big stuff. I don't know, whatever you think. But yeah, and especially with her dress, make sure that you push your brush in so that a lot of that blue will show through, and that'll definitely help with that translucency issue. But then after you've got the first layer down, you know how your figure is posed. Go through and thicken up certain areas. So I'm going to thicken up her chest, and I'm going to add some more acrylic over her arm that is towards the viewer, the one that's out further. And I'm also going to be adding a little bit more acrylic over her hair. And then over that one leg that once again is towards the camera. And once you have that done, I'm going to go through and I'm going to be highlighting it with diluted white paint. So this is another thing that for the areas that you want to appear thicker and more opaque, it's going to increase the opacity by just adding some pigment in the form of paint. And so I'm going to do the edge of her dress, just brushing that towards the center like that. Her legs, I'm going to add just a little bit more, and this is also going to help some of the details stand out and be more apparent. And white paint in general is going to be brighter of a white than white acrylic, and so it's going to definitely highlight it. And it might just seem like you're putting white on white, what's the point? But it's a slightly brighter color. I'm also going to highlight her face and her hair. And then I'm going to be applying a matte top coat over the 3D cameo. And you are all set. One thing that you could do that I thought would be really pretty is to attach this nail to a ring base, and then you'd have a little cameo ring that you made out of a nail. And so I hope you like this design, and don't forget to click subscribe to see my future videos as well, and also share recreations with me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I would really love to see them, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! Hi everyone! So in today's video I'm going to be doing a 3D cameo, and it's kind of an interesting thought because a cameo is carved, and so you're taking away ivory to reveal the design, but in this case you're building it up, which for some reason created a little bit of a mental block for me for a second until I got over it, and I don't know exactly what happened. But it's kind of an interesting thought just to do it backwards from the way they would be traditionally made. And so I had a lot of fun, and it's good to have something that you have to get through sometimes, a little creative roadblock. It makes you learn something. So I enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoyed the video and maybe try it out as well. And don't forget to click subscribe to see my future videos as well.